Concrete's really all I've known. I mean, I've done it better part of the last 20 years.
If you could send out a message to a guy or a laborer that's starting out, what would you tell them?
I said, be ambitious, be willing to learn, and be willing to ask questions. Because I'd rather ask a question and look dumb than not ask a question and look really dumb later. You don't know what you don't know until you find out. Pick up as much as you can, get after it.
All right, Mr. Grimaldi, thank you for coming on today. I know that concrete's kind of your biggest background, right, where you're coming from, but tell us a little bit about yourself, where you from, who's Domingo?
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Angel. Well, concrete's really all I've known. I mean, I've done it better part of the last 20 years, started as a concrete estimator and kind of worked my way up from there. So if we want to go back to square one, I started as an estimator back in 2004. Did that for a few years, and then I had a project come up that was kind of high profile where they wanted me to be the project manager, and I kind of took off from there. And it was at that point a kind of a hybrid role I've carried up until now. And in the last few years, it's been a little more senior leadership positions to kind of help develop our estimator and project management teams wherever I've been at.
I think you make a really good point right there. You said they wanted you regardless of who the other project manager was, right? And I think that goes to say of the type of person who you are, right? A lot of the times it's about the relationship that you have with that person.
Correct.
And you may not be like, let's say have the most expertise in that subject or whatever it is, but just working with that person just makes everything flow a lot better, right?
For sure.
But let's back up a little bit more. Like, where are you from originally?
Well, I was born in Wichita Falls, but
okay.
I grew up in Plano up until last few years of elementary school, and then I moved to Garland, and I've been in Garland ever since. So I've been in DFW my whole life.
Gotcha. So before estimating, did you do any concrete work, like, labor work, concrete work, or?
Little stuff there, because my dad and my uncles were on construction.
Mm-hmm.
So they were always around construction. So on the weekends, we were on job sites, and they were doing side gigs, help make a little extra money, helping them out, carrying lumber, carrying bags of concrete, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I was always around construction. So it was easy, one of those things for me to kind of just
pick up,
move into, and just kind of like pick up from there, because the lingo we had down. So at that point, it was just being able to find someone that was willing to train me, and that's the opportunity I had when I started in estimating. But they were looking for someone they wanted to train to be an estimator.
Yeah.
And they kind of just took me under the wing, showed me the ropes, and like I said, just kind of start adding stuff to my skill set from there.
Gotcha. What was you said that they moved you into like a really high profile project, right?
Mm.
What did that project consist of? Like, was it like a high rise? Was it
It was actually the George Bush Presidential Library over here in downtown Dallas.
Okay.
So the company I worked for at the time was doing the place and finish for the building foundation, and we did turnkey concrete on the site work, and that's where I was involved. So I was doing all the site work package, all the different plazas, all the different retaining walls, the little intricate sidewalks that run around it, the approaches that came into it. It was a really neat project to be a part of.
Gotcha. And so let's transition a little bit now, right? So you went from a really big concrete company, or that company that did concrete, right? Mm-hmm. to Moss Utilities, right? What made you make the change over here to Moss?
I think part of it is just being a part of a company I see that there's growth. I saw there was a need, and where I'd come from was a really big company that had been around for a while. It's kind of stuck in its ways. So being able to be somewhere where I had a little more flexibility to be kind of like, all right, I'm actually a manager here. Even though I had a similar role I was at, it was just kind of like in a box. And I feel over here, I'm not in that box anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of empowering you, right?
Exactly.
That's great, man. And I think our concrete division is something that is crucial here to utilities, right? I mean, we can't complete projects without having a concrete division, right? It's just impossible unless we sub out everything, and I think that's what we want to do, right? We want to have our in-house guys kind of, execute all that work, right? I may be wrong, but I think the end goal for Moss would be for everything to be done in-house, right? We do all of our pipe, we're already doing all that, right? Mm-hmm. And so the concrete division would be like a very big key to that portion,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so having someone like you that has that background expertise, is just kind of, a vital role, right? What was your first week like here?
Kind of scattered all over the place, kind of trying to get my wits about me and what we were doing here. Because, I mean, coming from doing turnkey concrete foundations to doing heavy civil utility stuff. It was eye opening. It was neat to be, looking at the stuff beneath the surface, because I'm doing everything virtually above the surface.
Above the surface.
There was little excavation involved in piers and grade beams and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but just kind of seeing the intricacies involved with all the stuff that goes in underground.
Yeah.
So it was definitely an enlightening experience to see what's all involved. Like I said, it's smaller scope, but like I said, it's still real detail oriented, because there's still a lot going on to what goes into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to like our utility work and what affects above it, right? Because it's like, once there's paving, man, and there's utilities already installed, there's essentially no going back, right? And we expect for it to be executed the correct way the first time, right? But let's say, there's a hiccup with that line. I mean, just removing paving, removing the dirt, removing all that. Like, I mean, that's just it's a whole process going underneath, right? All the underground stuff. Because let's say, we didn't compact correctly, right?
Right.
I mean, imagine building, whatever building that you're building, and, the dirt wasn't compacted right. I mean, that falls on us, right? That's part of our scope, right? Is to make sure that we compact our underground utility lines correctly, right? So it's very, kind of to your point, very enlightening, right? That there's a lot more to it than just, there's utilities running underneath, this building, right? How did we get to that point? You know what I mean?
Right.
I did a little bit of concrete work as well. That's kind of was the first like labor job that I had, was doing concrete work. So I could definitely appreciate it. It was more like flat work. It was, curb and gutter, approaches, sidewalk, driveways. And it's definitely very labor intensive, man. I think it kind of made me respect it even more than what I did, right? Because it's like coming in from, like, let's say, I guess a good example is, a lot of high school kids go to fast food restaurant, right? If you go from a fast food restaurant just to even being outside 10 hours a day, that's
totally different.
Yeah, totally different, man. And so it's very crucial to understand that the detail, the work that goes into it, and the behind the scenes, right? Which is where you come into play. How big is your team now?
We're up to 6 foremen, and they've got about 5 guys apiece, so we've got about 30 guys, and we've got 2 more crews we're about to add here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be up to 8 crews.
Up to 8 crews?
Yeah.
And do they report directly to you, or how does that structured?
Over here currently, we got 2 superintendents that are directly beneath me, and then they have those half and half. So there'll be 4 crews under each superintendent.
Gotcha. And how does it look like, scheduling these guys out, right? Because I know that, sometimes the work's not ready for you guys, right? So how do you manage that and scheduling these guys out, week by week?
The biggest thing is really just constant communication. Just make sure we're staying on top of this pipe guys to know what their needs are, what they have in front of us, and then staying in the loop with our concrete guys. Just make sure if stuff's on track, if anything's changed, that way we're making adjustments that needed. That way we kind of keep their workflow going, and then we're keeping the everything on backlog for everything else we got coming up.
Gotcha. What's one of your biggest goals here? Kind of leading the division.
I would say ideally just get these guys to where they're like close to as expert level as possible in concrete. We've got guys already in place that want to do concrete. So, I mean, that's what our foundation's going to be off of. And then just adding to that, and then adding to their knowledge so they can be even better at what they're doing. And hopefully at some point we get these guys where they want to move up from, they're just a carpenter to a foreman to superintendent, general superintendent. And then somebody maybe wants to take my job, and then I can move on top of them, or I can move to a different division. But ideally I want guys that'll be top notch in concrete. Yeah. Like anything concrete. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to doing, additional site work. We could do parking lots and other stuff like that. Because I mean, whatever we're trying to do here, if it involves concrete, I want to be a piece of it.
Gotcha. I think one of the things you just mentioned was, that path to success, or that path moving up, right? How are these crews currently structured as far as, because you said from carpenter to foreman, right?
Right.
So does the carpenter do everything? Because I there's companies like big concrete companies, right? Like let's say Baker, Kent, TAS, Beacon, right? And a lot of the times those guys have it completely separate to the point where it's like there's rebar guys who are just rebar guys, and
Mhm.
all they do is just tie rebar, cut rebar,
Right.
set the rebar, right? And then there's the form setters, right? The guys that
Right.
just set forms,
Mhm.
right? And then there's the guys that just pour concrete. All they do is pour it and finish it.
Right.
So how do we have that structured with our crews currently?
Really, currently, we have it where we have laborers, carpenters, and a handful of finishers. But I want to get these guys to the point to where they can be all in one. That they can do the form setting, they can do the rod busting, and they can do the finishing as well. Because at the end of the day, whether it's with Moss or they decide to go somewhere else and maybe do their own thing, it'll be beneficial to them to have all those skills under one hat. I mean, it makes you way more versatile when you're able to do more than one thing. But like I said, I think for us, the route moving forward, especially for our scope, that we get these guys that, they can, like I said, put on their tool belt, get the form set, do the rod busting, and then do the finishing as well. It like makes us so much more efficient.
Gotcha. What's one of the most intricate things that you think that we do here as far as like the concrete side, like maybe like a junction box or
I think so, because it's the some of these larger junction boxes or the debris separators, like it's just the way it's done in different levels. I mean, it almost reminds me of doing like structural concrete, because you're gonna form it up and essentially you've got like a floating concrete surface. So I mean, structural concrete to me is always going to be the neatest part of anything concrete.
Gotcha. Have you seen a challenge of cast in place concrete due to it being inside of an excavation? Was that portion of it kind of new to you?
It definitely adds a different layer, because you add the whole confined space to it, and then it being in an excavation. So really, you're adding multi facets of safety into it, instead of being just like doing a parking lot in just a wide open area,
Yeah.
and there's less risk for anything. So yeah, it's definitely adds a different layer of safety.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of makes us unique, right? Is that we we also cover all the aspects of safety when it comes to the concrete division, right? Because we have to make sure that that excavation's safe for those guys to go inside, right?
Definitely.
And a lot of times our pipe crews are the ones that dig those excavations, so that whenever they get there, they're running, right? They're running and they're ready to set their forms, grade it all out, so on and so forth, right? And I think that's kind of a process that's extremely crucial for those concrete crews to be successful.
Definitely.
Maybe one of the things that we could talk about is how we're doing concrete compared to other utility companies. Because I'm not 100% sure how we do it when it comes to how different we are when it comes to other utility companies as far as doing the concrete work, right? Do they sub all that out, or is it all in-house, or, would the end goal here be to completely go away with subs?
I mean, I think so. I think ideally you want to find that perfect balance to where you're closer to maybe like 75-25, maybe 80-20, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to have that control over manpower, execution, and the efficiency of the projects. So you definitely want to still maintain those great relationships with the subcontractors that will perform. But at the end of the day, I think the best route's always to be able to have that in-house capability to manage the work that you have in front of you.
If you could, send out a message to a guy or a laborer that's starting out, an employee starting out in concrete that, wants to make his way up, what would you tell him?
I said, be ambitious, be willing to learn and be willing to ask questions. I think in the years I've been around, and I always preface with, hey, let me ask you a stupid question. Because I'd rather ask a question and look dumb than not ask a question and look really dumb later.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you don't know what you don't know until you find out. So I mean, you have to ask those questions, and just don't be afraid to ask questions, because that's the only way you're going to be able to move forward. Don't come with the sense of, you have to know everything right out the gate, especially if you're completely new to it. If we're bringing you in for reasons, because obviously we need help. But if, like I said, if it's something you want to progress here step by step, like I said, just be ambitious. If you just labor starting out day one, just get after it and stay tight at the hip to the guy that's above you, whether it's the carpenter, the finisher, the foreman, or whatever, just like pick up as much as you can, read the drawings, learn about the spacing of the rebar, and just take it little by little, just absorb as much as you can. That way, like I said, you start making those steps up and work your way towards, promotions and leadership positions.
Yeah. How would you describe the culture here at Moss?
It's really laid back. It's definitely different coming from a corporate environment. So it's laid back, but it's busy. The way I've seen it is like it's like being in a beehive. I think it's the best way I can see it because there's always something going on. There's always motion. There's people up and down. Uh, from what I've seen is like all the executives, all the higher ups, no one's in their office or sitting down very long because they're in meetings all the time. It's like even it's like you're in your office maybe once or twice a week. It's like we had to schedule this out way in advance to get us done, and then at the same, to get the stars to line.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of moving pieces, but I think a beehive is the best way to describe it.
That's interesting you say that. So not to change the subject here, but I just saw the movie The Beekeeper.
Okay.
I don't know if that's,
I know what you're talking
are we the beekeeper of Moss utilities, underground utilities, where, we're unstoppable, we're going to be the beekeeper.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a really good movie.
It was.
But anyways, man, well, I appreciate you coming on today, giving us your input on, your vision for the concrete division. There's a lot of growth in it, and I think there's a lot to grow on and expand on here with Moss.
For sure. Thanks for having me.